Hey there Retro Games fans, this is Andy C from Pieces of 8-Bit. Welcome to this week's video. As part of this month's A Month with the PlayStation 2, I am looking at a few PlayStation 2 games and having a bit of a think about what it's been like to live with for a month, and obviously I'll be revealing what that's been like in the next couple of weeks' time. But I figured if we're playing on the PlayStation 2, then really, to be honest with you, if you're playing on any PlayStation 2, but specifically the PlayStation 2, I feel that we need to talk about Gran Turismo. There were two games on the PlayStation 2, which was Gran Turismo 3 and Gran Turismo 4, and they're both quite different. They both bring something different to the table. Now, when I was looking at doing something for the bit between, I did think about doing Gran Turismo. You might have seen me talk about it in one of my previous videos, and I talked about, well, will I do 3, will I do 4? And I looked into it and I couldn't decide which to do. And the reason for that is that both games bring something a little bit different. So I thought maybe what I'll do is I'll do it on my main channel on main video on a Friday, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the differences between the two and how much they kind of moved on in those sort of 4 years between the two releases. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk you through each game a little bit, give you a little bit of a background on the game itself, and we're going to do a race, just a quick race on each one, and I'll talk about the gameplay and we'll talk about the graphics as we go, providing I can try and do that without crashing too many times as well. So that's how we're going to start today. Just a little bit of background on Gran Turismo. Obviously, it is by Polyphony Digital, and the first game came out in 1997 on the PlayStation, on the original PlayStation 1, and it was created by Kazunori Yamauchi. I'm terrible at getting Japanese names right, so I apologise to anybody who thinks I've got that wrong. But yes, there's been a Gran Turismo on every single PlayStation apart from the PlayStation Vita, which I think actually is somewhat of a travesty, really, that we never saw a Gran Turismo on the Vita. But there is a Gran Turismo on the PSP and every other generation of PlayStation console, which is fantastic. There have been 15 games in total, and these two that we're having a look at today, so Gran Turismo 3 is the second, it's the best-selling Gran Turismo game and the second best-ranked Gran Turismo game out of all of those. And GT4 is pretty high up there as well. It's the fourth best-ranked and one of the best sellers as well. So both very, very highly regarded games. They're known for being, Kazunori is known for being somewhat of a perfectionist when it comes to these games, and quite often they get delayed because they want it to be absolutely perfect. And we see a lot in amongst those 15 games. Obviously, we've got GT through to GT7, the main games, but there's also prologues and demos, and there's a thing at the moment called My First Gran Turismo, which is the latest addition to that title. So there were lots of sort of previews of what it was going to be like. I specifically remember some of the prologue games giving us a couple of tracks and a feel for what the cars were going to be like, and everybody getting very excited about it. But GT3 and GT4, obviously they were the main titles. We were lucky enough to get 2 in that generation, which we don't always get, certainly not these days. So let's dive in straight away then with Gran Turismo 3, and I'll talk you a little bit through the game, and yeah, let's go from there. Let's get straight stuck in. Okay, so in this first section, we're going to just talk a little bit about Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. Now, for this exercise, I would like you to take your mind back to 2001, whether or not you were born or not. Bearing in mind this was 24 years ago, getting on for 25 years ago. And what we're looking at here is very early days on the PlayStation 2. And if you think about some of the games that perhaps you might have seen on the PlayStation, on the original PlayStation, PlayStation 1, just imagine what it would have been like to have seen just even this intro sequence that you're seeing on the screen now. Imagine what that would have been like to have seen 24 years ago. That was my experience. I bought the Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec Special Edition PlayStation, which was exactly the same as any other PlayStation, except it came in a red box and with the Gran Turismo 3 logo all over the side of the box, and it came with Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. So the first game basically that I had for the PlayStation 2 was this, and it absolutely blew my mind. just this intro sequence. You could watch this, it's about 4 minutes long. You could just watch this intro sequence. It is incredible. But let's talk a little bit about Gran Turismo 3 itself. So it launched in 2001 in April in Japan, July in the US, and then in Europe later that month, about the same time that I bought my first PlayStation 2. And straight away, it was absolutely the PS2 showpiece. So if you had people round and you said, hey, I got one of these new PlayStation 2s, this is the game that you would show them. This is the game that you bought with the console, and it was one of the biggest system sellers of that era. In fact, it went on to sell almost 15 million copies, which, as I said earlier, makes it the best-selling Gran Turismo of all time and one of the top-selling PlayStation 2 games, full stop. 15 million copies, that is an insane amount for any particular game, especially at that time. Critics absolutely loved it. They praised the graphics, the smooth handling model. In fact, the percentage that it was typically getting was 95%, which is almost a perfect score. And it just had that immense sense of speed. It really did, as I said before, feel like that true generational leap from GT1 and GT2 on the PS1, which are fantastic games. But when you look at the difference between this and GT2, for instance, the difference is astronomical. It is mind-blowing. But the big thing about GT3, really, and the reason why I wanted to talk about GT3 versus GT4 is that GT3 is all about focus. So in GT2, there was 650 cars, and in GT3, we only had 180. So a big old cut in that, but what we wanted to do, I wasn't involved in the development. What Polyphony wanted to do was they wanted to have every single model in there absolutely beautifully recreated, with high resolution textures, reflections. It was all about quality over quantity, and something which I think Gran Turismo is just well known for now. It is just that attention to detail is just absolutely exceptional in every single Gran Turismo that we've seen, right through to GT7, which is the current one. The physics in the game just hit that sweet spot between simulation and accessibility, so you could definitely pick up Gran Turismo 3, as you'll see later on, and just get and play it. You didn't have to worry too much about, getting really into it, and you had the license tests, the rally events, but nothing too overwhelming at that start, just really clean, tight, addictive racing. So therefore then, GT3 is the game that really made the PS2 feel properly new and properly advanced for its time. It is sleek, it's super stylish, and even now it is just a brilliant pick up and play racer, as you will see. So let's go and talk now a little bit about Gran Turismo 4, and then we're going to get into a little bit of gameplay. Okay, so we're going to skip forward a few years now to 2004. Getting on for 2005, ultimately, with the release of Gran Turismo 4. This one arrived essentially in the middle of the PlayStation 2's life, so, the PlayStation 3 wasn't very far away at this point as well. We only had another year or so to go until the PS3 came out. It came out in December in Japan and 2004, and then earlier in 2005 everywhere else, and it felt like Polyphony Digital had just fully unlocked the hardware. And this was very much the story of the PlayStation 2 at the time, this idea that games towards the end of its cycle could really leverage the hardware so much more. And we were seeing, it was almost like it was a different console compared to games that we were seeing at the beginning of the cycle versus at the end. And I don't think there's any other PlayStation, possibly even any other console, that had as much of a leap in terms of its early titles versus its late titles, as people really got the hang of how to get the best out of the PS2. Reviewers praised this game for its size and the ambition of the game itself. It was just massive, and they weren't quite as universally glowing as GT3, but that is a very, very high bar. We're still talking high 80s in terms of percentage here. But where GT3 was very much focused, as I mentioned before, GT4 went huge. So now we had 720 cars versus 180 from GT3, and that's more even than GT2, which had 650. And we had about 80 manufacturers, everything from a 1880s Daimler all the way to futuristic prototypes, and the track list exploded. I think there's about almost three times as many tracks. I think it was about 18 tracks on GT3. This one had 51 courses. including big real-world icons like the Nürburgring, but also city modes. There's a New York one, which perhaps we'll have a go at that one in a bit as well. So loads of different courses. Lots of new ways to play as well. We had a B-Spec mode, which basically let the AI drive while you issue it commands. Really good for long endurance races or credit grinding. We had something I never really played, I'll be honest with you. I never really used the B-Spec very much. A-Spec points, which would reward you for using kind of underpowered cars for extra challenges. Driving missions, unique skill-based challenges, and of course this photo mode, which was new, which just became its own obsession for loads of players. Physics were really tightened up as well. We had better tyre behaviour, more weight transfer, more realistic feel, better graphics. Everything was just turned up to 11 really, and especially on some of the longer circuits, we saw that much more realistic feel. So ultimately then, if GT3 was that kind of really slick, focused racer, GT4 was almost like a full encyclopedia in its own right. It was bigger, deeper, and just built for people who really wanted to just live inside the game. And yeah, it's just exceptionally good. Now, I personally, I have more of a soft spot for 3, and I think that's probably just the nature of the game and just the nature of when I bought the game. But what we're going to do now is we're going to dig into both games, and we're going to have a bit of a race in both, and I'll talk you through what it feels like and how it is to play. Let's dive straight in with that. Right, okay, so we're just going to do a quick game on the arcade mode, and we'll do the same on GT4 as well. I've made this nice and easy for myself. Let's go with midfield, and let's go for something quick but not too quick. And what car shall we pick? Let's pick, let's go for a... yeah, let's have a Porsche. Nice. Okay. Right, here we go. Let's dive straight into this. Now, I'm playing this through an emulator, which is why I've got this weird fade. It's to do with a setting on PCSX2 that I've set that means that when it loads, it does that weird sort of fade out. Now, you'll notice as well, I am not playing with a wheel, and that is also because I'm playing on emulator. Now, I have been playing Gran Turismo 3 and 4 in the living room with the Logitech GeForce EX wheel. Oh dear, I didn't do that very well already, did I? Yes, but I'm playing this with a controller, so yeah, it's one of those things with Gran Turismo where I think if you want the real experience, playing on with the wheel is the way to go, but it is a little harder. And you'll notice from this, for those of you who play newer versions of Gran Turismo, obviously you get all the things that tell you the braking zones and all of those kind of things as well. None of that on here. I don't think you can turn that sort of thing on anyway. I don't recall being able to do that. I don't feel like I necessarily need it. Maybe as I get further into the game, I'll get it. Handling feels really good. You get, even on the controller, you get a decent amount of force feedback. Obviously, I've picked easy, so I should have no trouble with this race at all. We've got just a couple of laps to do here. And again, like I said in the sort of introduction to GT3, put yourself in the minds of somebody who, I get around that corner, who was playing on their PlayStation 2 for the very first time, played Gran Turismo 2, and then you come and look at these graphics on here. Bearing in mind, I'm playing this on a high resolution screen. I'd have been playing this on an ordinary CRT TV. I think I had a widescreen TV, 28-inch television, but these graphics on that television just looked incredible. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing at the time. It just felt so realistic. Now, can I change the... I can't remember what the button is to... Oh, I can't remember what the button is to change the view of my car to go third person. Maybe I won't do that. Oh, there we go. That's the one. R1. There we go, just to give you a little bit of a look there as well. So you see we've got reflections on the cars, although a little bit rudimentary at this point, and obviously we'll talk a little bit about the graphics in 4. You see we've got some reflection and shadows. Look, it's not entirely bad. And bearing in mind, of course, we've never really seen very much like this, certainly not on a console at this stage. I really screwed that up. Oh, I very much screwed that up. So he's got a TVR there, I think, hasn't he? In which case he's probably just going to break down before we get to the finish line, so we should be okay. AI cars were quite on rails. No damage physics at this point. Yeah, you can see like a little bit of the reflection there. So I was passing some trees, I didn't get any reflection. Passing under the gantries, I did. So it just goes a bit darker, look, but we're still seeing sky, which is not brilliant. I should really concentrate on driving instead of... oh, thank you. I needed that little boost. Yeah, but it just looks... I think this game just looks really amazing. And it is very easy to pick up and play. You know, I hadn't played Gran Turismo 3 for a long, long time. And, you know, I was able to come back and really kind of get into it pretty quickly. It is just great fun. And here we go. This is the end of our lap. So there we go. Great handling. Really good fun to play. And I quite enjoyed as well. We'll just have a quick look at it in a second. I quite enjoy the little replays that you get with these as well. Very cinematic. Very nicely thought through. So let's just skip over to that. Yeah, it's not really a great achievement, is it, at this point? But yeah, that is Gran Turismo 3. Let's leave this running for a few seconds. I'll talk a little bit more, and then we'll go and have a quick go of Gran Turismo 4. I think that is a TVR Tuscan in front of me there, and I'm right at the very back. There's a Lotus in there as well, I spotted. It's funny, you know, when you look back at graphics like this, I mean, it's clear, you know, it's clear that this is a computer-generated setup. And when you look at Gran Turismo 7, it's almost, I feel like it's almost impossible to tell, especially when you do these replays. The graphics are so realistic, so photorealistic now. But the weird thing is, I felt like that when I watched this game way back in 2001. When I watched these things back here, I'm like, look how realistic this is. It's incredible. I do wonder, you know, whether when we look back at games from now, whether they will age, you know, whether we'll look back at that and go, wow, we used to think that looked realistic. You know, I don't understand that. You know, like, I don't know whether it was the screens that we were rendering on that just meant that it was a lot more forgiving, or what. But having said that, you know, when you think about the age of this game, it really just does look incredible for its age. Look at that. It just looks brilliant. For a console, when you think about the specs on a PlayStation 2 and then you look at this, it's just incredible. And I get it, you know, like I get that racing games are easier to make look pretty because everything is pre-rendered. You know, so much of the scenery is pre-rendered, which does make it a bit easier, but I still think it's an incredible feat for this console. And this is a new console at this point as well. Bear that in mind as well. So developers hadn't really fully figured out how to get the best out of it. All right, let's go and have a look at Gran Turismo 4 now, and I'm just going to go and have a quick race on there as well, and I'll talk you through that as well, and then we'll get to the final verdict, and I'll tell you what I thought of both. Alright, so we're going to just do arcade again. So we're going to go for one of these city courses this time. You can see just how many more courses there are. Like 19 world circuits. I'm going to just have a look in here. Look, we have there's Nürburgring. That's nice and long. Laguna Seca. Some of these appear on the original one, I think. Oh, I've gone too far the other way. Can I go back? Let's just pick those again. If you look at the original circuits, High Speed Ring, Trial Mountain, these are the ones that you get in the original one as well, unsurprisingly. And we are going to go for one of these city courses because I think they're the prettiest looking ones. We said New York. Let's go for New York. That's normal. And then let's pick something kind of fun. Well, a lot of fun. You can just see, just the manufacturers on here, how much stuff there is. What should we go for? We're going to go for something not too quick, but also not too slow. Let's pick a Mini Cooper, shall we? Yeah, let's do that. So let's go for a Cooper, and let's have a green one. As we've got a few seconds here, we can change our tyres and need the driving aids as well if we want to. We're just going to go for all the standard stuff. Auto box. And then we're going to drive around New York. straight away, I think what you'll see in a moment is a lot more detail in the tracks themselves. We've got these different modes here as well, so a few little setup options. So we've got that B-Spec mode that I spoke about before. We're just going to go for standard driver's mode. Now, can I change my view at this point? Different button for view, so it's not, I think it was one of the shoulder buttons last time, and this time it's going to be select. So I'm just going to swap over to that. We're already in that mode, which is good. So you can just get a bit of a view of the car itself, which appears to be perhaps not all that quick. This could be a problem. Now I'm going to keep an eye on my top map here, because the trouble with these city maps is they've got some pretty sharp turns. Yeah, get off. I think one of the things with Gran Turismo, especially these early games, is the NPC cars, the AI cars, were pretty on rails. So they didn't really respond to what you were doing unless you kind of crashed into them. You know, so if you had the racing line, you know, like we was talking about it in Formula 1 all the time, if you had the apex on a corner or whatever, they wouldn't get out your way. You had to navigate around them. That was not very well done, was it, at all? Oh, come on, come on, come on. It was a little bit harder. It's quite a hard track, this one, because there's just these really, really sharp bends. The trouble is you run the risk of completely stopping. But as you can see, a lot of really good detail in these maps as well. It's difficult to tell that the graphics are sharper, but they are just that little bit. They are that little bit sharper, I think. Reflections, I guess, probably. I thought the reflections were better in this game. I think maybe they are a little bit. You can sort of see the kind of reflections of the buildings. I mean, those sorts of things don't matter. They just help with the immersion of a game. I think really it's the actual maps themselves where you've got all that extra detail. Handling of the cars is a little bit better, I think. Just feels a little bit sharper. I probably should have driven the same car really just to compare directly, but I think it just feels a little bit more responsive. I mean, really, in some cases, it's a lot of minor detail. Yeah, grip definitely feels a little bit more realistic in as much as it is a little harder. It's a little less forgiving. I am absolutely getting my backside kicked. That's the words I was looking for on this. But yeah, I do love these city maps, and again, you know, put yourself in the minds of somebody looking at this 20 years ago. You could drive around New York. How cool was that? You know, rendered really, really beautifully in a game that is really getting on in years now. The only other game driving game that I can think of where we see perhaps a similar attention to detail, and probably not as much, is in the Xbox games, and I'm trying to remember the name of it now, Project Gotham Racing. They look really, really pretty, actually, and were a bit of a testament to how capable the actual original Xbox was. But I think when it came to racing simulation, these were just unmatched at the time. I really need to find out where the handbrake is, because that was not a very good move. Obviously, again, in this, no damage physics at this point, certainly not in this race. I don't recall there being damage physics anywhere, actually. Certainly not that you would see. The cars seem pretty indestructible. Obviously, we get things like tyre wear and stuff like that in longer races, but certainly in these arcade ones, it was pretty much indestructible car, not a scratch on it. It was all about the racing. Oh dear, absolutely hopeless. I'm going to be last. Obviously, I did that on purpose. You know, like I wanted to show what it was like to finish first in one race and then finish last in another race. Obviously, you know, for your benefit. I do these things for you people. You know that. Oh, I thought that was the end. I think the end's coming up. Probably just as well, really. I assume that's supposed to be Central Park on the right-hand side. All nice and leafy. Oh yeah, you definitely get that kind of that more realistic feel as you drift around the corner. Bits of understeer, bits of oversteer here and there. Just a little bit, like I said, just that little bit more attention to detail. As if you could even improve on Gran Turismo 3. That's the thing, and like I said in the review of the game, it's just more. Everything about this game is just more. So there we go. This has got to be the end here, hasn't it? There we go. What a dismal performance. 11 seconds. I think last time I did this I was about 11 seconds behind as well. Maybe I just picked the wrong car. Perhaps that's what it was. It can't have been driver error for sure. All right, let's just talk about this for a few more seconds whilst we go into the review. This could be somewhat depressing. Maybe I did pick the wrong car. Look, you've got some MX-5s there. Everything's like, mine looks like, it looks massive compared to the other cars that are in there. But it is a Cooper, so it should be quicker. So maybe it is just driver error. Like I said in 3 as well, I really do like these cutaways. Even just that little watermark in the bottom, it just feels so slick and so professional and so cool. You know, they've really gone for that. Hey, you're watching this thing on the TV. It is just so cool. He helped me around that corner there, didn't he? For sure. So yeah, brilliant. That is Gran Turismo 4. A really, really nice game. And it just, like I said, it just brings more of everything. It just brings more of everything, and it really is that sort of car encyclopedia. And I think this is the game really that started that whole Gran Turismo 2 had a lot of cars, let's face it, but this game for me was the one where I really started to think about, you know, I started to get obsessed about collecting cars, winning races and collecting cars. I wasn't the only one that did that. Yeah, all these different tracks as well. It just felt so varied. I played this game a lot. Played GT3 more, and as I say, both of them, I think if you get the steering wheel, if you want to have another go at these, of course, you've got a PlayStation 2, I would definitely recommend going out there and finding something like the G4 CX Logitech wheel. You can pick them up pretty cheap, actually, and that will be just, you know, give you that extra something for the game, just give you that bit more immersion, make it feel that little bit more realistic. Yeah, so there you go. That is Gran Turismo 4. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the differences between the two games. You know, what bought it, and just summarise that and talk to you about which was my favourite and give you my final thoughts. So let's get stuck straight in with that. So there you go, two of the greatest racers on the PlayStation 2 from one of the greatest racing franchises out there. Certainly for console gaming, it is just unsurpassed. And that's not to say I don't love Forza and I don't love Project Gotham Racing and so many other games, but when it comes to racing simulation, Gran Turismo 3 and 4 and the Gran Turismo series in general are very, very hard to beat. And in the PlayStation 2 generation, I think they were the best. And which is my favourite? Well, first of all, we need to talk about what GT4 bought over GT3, and we've sort of talked about that already, but let's just summarise. So the difference between GT3, which was very focused, and GT4 was, there was a big list. So on paper, GT4 should have been the better game, right? It had more cars, 3 times as many cars. It had, or more than 3 times as many cars, actually. It has about the same multiplier of tracks as well, loads more tracks, loads more detail, better physics, better graphics, the cars were shinier, better handling in the cars themselves, more attention to detail, just generally on everything. So it really did crank up the detail. Lots more playing modes. Obviously we had that B-Spec mode, there's the photo mode. And in fact, actually, I'm playing this game, playing these games. Obviously, I got them on the PlayStation 2, and I've been playing them on the PlayStation 2. But for the purposes of recording, I downloaded both games to play through the simulator to record, to show you. And interestingly, you can just tell how much bigger Gran Turismo 3 is. The download for Gran Turismo 4 is. The download for Gran Turismo 3 is 3 gigabytes. The download for Gran Turismo 4 is 4.5 gigabytes. So it would have filled your DVD as well that it came on to the absolute maximum. So it really was a very full game, and they crammed as much into that game as they possibly could. So what's my favourite? well, my favourite, despite all of those things that I just said, is 3. I think what I like about 3 is that focus. I like the fact that you can just pick it up and play. GT4 I found a little bit more challenging generally, and that's okay because you can ease yourself into it. Obviously I've gone straight in for an arcade mode anyway, obviously you can ease yourself into the races. And all Gran Turismo games generally start quite easy, and you know they're quite easy to win races, and then it ramps up as you get through. But I like the pick up and play of GT3. I like the focus of GT3. You know, the fact that it has less tracks you would think is not a good thing, but they've put a lot of attention into those tracks, and you get to know those tracks. And I just enjoy it. And I think it is in part, you know, I'll be honest with you, I think it is in part down to the fact that it was one of the first games, or the first game that I owned on the PlayStation. So it has fond memories in terms of that sheer impact and that generational impact. And it's why games like Grand Theft Auto 3 will always hold a place in my heart, because again, that was a groundbreaking game. So whilst I don't think it's the best of the Grand Theft Auto series, it is one of my favourites because of just of what it brought and the impact that it had and the change that it had. And Gran Turismo 3 for me is very much like that for the PlayStation 2. It just brought this just realism that I'd never seen before, this slickness that I'd never seen before. And I don't think there's ever been a Gran Turismo game since that has had that kind of impact on me personally. I mean, I played Gran Turismo 7 on the PlayStation 5, and it is a stunning game. It is absolutely stunning. And you put it into VR. If you're lucky enough to have a VR2, you can put it onto VR. You can have the rig set up with G29 wheel. It is fully immersive. It is fabulous to look at. I absolutely love GT7, and you can look around the interior of the car you're on, and it's a more natural driving experience played that way. And we could do that with the VR, with the last Gran Turismo as well on the PlayStation 4. But it just hasn't had that impact. It just hasn't had that same impact. GT7 is probably the closest to having that impact of any of the other games, but GT3 just was so special for me. And of course, being the first disc that I put in the PlayStation 2 when it was brand new, just has some very fond memories. And I just think, even now, if you go back and play it now, I mean, both games are fantastic, right? There's just no getting away from that. But I think GT3, for me, it just pips it. It just pips it. So let me know your thoughts on that. You know, what do you think? Which was your favourite? And what other Gran Turismo memories have you got, perhaps from previous generations or future ones? What's your favourite Gran Turismo game? Do you still enjoy playing them? Are you more of a Forza fan? And there's no shame in that. Forza Motorsport is fantastic, and Forza Horizon, absolutely brilliant games in their own right. You know, there are some amazing driving games out there for different reasons, but when it comes to simulators, for me, Gran Turismo is the GOAT. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on that. So that is it for my Gran Turismo, PlayStation 2 Gran Turismo retrospective on GT3 and GT4 for this week. I'm going to be having a look at some mascots next time round. So I wanted to get some thoughts on, I wanted to sort of have a bit of a think about what is the de facto mascot for the PlayStation 2. So that's what we're going to be having a look at next week. Stay tuned for that. We've got the bit between, obviously, next Wednesday. I haven't decided what game I'm going to play for that yet, so watch this space for that. And we've got one more GameCube game coming up on the Monday Minute next Monday as well. So stay tuned for that, and you can go and find out for yourself what that is. It only takes a minute. In other news, I have pre-ordered myself the A1200 Amiga from Retro Games Limited. So pre-orders went live last Friday. I'm very excited about it, but I've got to wait till June for that to come out. But you can order that direct from Retro Games, which is unusual. They don't normally do that. You normally have to go to Argos or Amazon or whatever if you're in the UK. So if you're interested in getting back into Amiga gaming, I have the A500 Mini, and I've got an actual A500 Plus, an original one, but I really wanted to have a look at the A1200, which is a full-size Amiga replica, so I am super excited about that. And then I'm also intrigued to know whether any of you are thinking about the new Steam machine that comes out early next year in Q1. So I saw that appear last week. There's been lots and lots of talk about that as well. I'll probably buy that incredibly well very powerful machine, and end up playing a lot of retro games on it, but it does look really cool. So that is going to be tempting in the new year as well when that appears. So it's going to be sort of PC gaming in your living room, which is going to be really interesting. That is going to be a bit of a game changer, I think, especially as a lot of people are saying that Microsoft's console days may be behind them. Not sure whether I necessarily buy that or not, but love to hear your thoughts on that. Are you buying anything? What are your Christmas presents likely to be? Is there anything in that list? And is it going to be a Christmas present that perhaps you don't get till next year? Love to hear your thoughts on that. So thanks ever so much for watching, as always. If you do enjoy these videos, please do hit that like and subscribe button. Really do appreciate your support, and hope you enjoyed today's video. So yeah, please don't miss anything. So you know, if you enjoy them, obviously, yeah, just make sure you're getting the alerts from that like and subscribe. I'll stop begging now. Just leaves me to say, please do all take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.